Hello and welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to do create, read, update and delete on this Convex with React. So this is basically the application that we are going to build. As you can see, really clean, and I can add tags. It's going to be open the modal like this. I'm going to push my webcam right here, and then for the title I'm going to do title 1 and description. This is title 1 for example, right? If I hit add right here, it's going to be automatically showed data on this dashboard Convex right here. As you can see, we have one table called task, right? If I hit add, as you can see, this is really fast and showing the data immediately right here. And I can also, for example, check this card right here into this task will be done, for example. As you can see, if I hit done, as you can see here, the completed is true right now. Super great. If I hit edit, let's try to edit, for example, the title right here. I can do title updated, and then let's just fix this. This is title 1, right? If I hit edit, update, as you can see, it's updated really fast. I can also add another task 2. This is task 2. Alright, if I hit add, as you can see, now we have 2 tags on this dashboard. Alright, so that's what we are going to learn in this video, and hopefully you learn a lot of things from this simple video. And yep, without any further ado, let's just get started. Alright, so anyway, we are going to use Vite to generate React application. We can use this command right here, npm create Vite at latest. For the npm 7 plus version, you need to have a double a dash right here. Alright, so open a terminal, and here I can do npm create Vite at latest, and for the application name I'm going to use React Convex CRUD, and then this is the double dash, and for the template I use React TypeScript. So let's hit enter. Alright, it's done. So now let's cd into the React Convex CRUD, and from here I'm going to open that inside Visual Studio Code. So now let's install all the dependency. We can do npm install. This is basically will install all the dependency inside this package.json file right here. After the installation done, now I'm going to install a Tailwind CSS. Just open tailwindcss.com, click get started, and then I believe it's going to be framework guide. And then I use Vite. Just take a look of Vite. Let me see right here. And then let's copy all this command right here. Copy that, paste that into the terminal, and hit enter. And also let's go back to documentation, and we need to copy this content. Open the Tailwind config.js. This is going to be automatically generated. Paste that right here. And now let's go to index.css, open source index.css, and we are going to paste that right here. I'm going to basically remove everything in here and just leave it heading 1. And also for the state I'm going to remove, and also on the top right here let's remove also this app.css. We don't need that. Let's delete, and then now we good to go. We can see npm run dev, and then close all of these tab on the top right here. Let's open localhost 5173. Now we should see app on the browser. I'm gonna start from the UI stuff, so let's go back to the app.tsx, and here I just want to remove the div, and let's create a div with the class name minimal height to screen, which is basically 100 view height. And also let's change the background to gray 5D. Inside this div right here, I'm going to put the header. So let's create components inside the source. Let's do components, and then inside the components folder, I'm going to create a file called header.tsx. And here, let's do RFC. Let's change with header with capital H right here. And then we can import that header right here. On the header, I'm going to put heading 1. Let's say header. Let's see. We have header on the browser. I'm going to use a tag header right here. Let's do header. And then inside the header, let's do container. For the header, I'm going to add a background called, let's do white. And also I'm going to add a shadow. In this container, I'm going to add the MX auto to make it the container into the center. and add some padding right here. For the horizontally is 4, for the vertically I'm going to say 6. Right, so inside this div right here, I'm going to create another div to basically put the logo task manager into the left and also the button on the right side. So let's do button right here. It's going to be add task. So now as you can see, the add manager and add task is basically on the same left right here. So we can do class name display flags, item center, and justify to between. So now the button should be on the right side. Nice. Let's styling this heading one a little bit. Okay, and also for the button, let's do class name into background blue. Let's say blue 500. Here we go. When I click this button, I want to run function. So let's do on click event. In here, I'm going to run function call on add task. So this function is going to become from the state. So let's grab that from here. So on add task. So basically, let's create the interface on the top right here. Interface, header, props. And then let's put the on add tags right here. This is basically a function that return void. So let's put the interface in here. All right, so let's go back to the app.tsx. As you can see on this header, we basically get this error because we require on add tags function. For now, just put empty function, just like that. So down here, it's basically the main. Let's do that like that. And then the main should be inside a container, class name container. And also we have, MX auto and also the padding. I'm going to do 4 and also the vertically, I'm going to do 8. I'm going to use dummy data for the better styling. So I'm going to put my tags with dummy data right here. It's basically 2 objects with ID, title, description, and completed. So inside this main right here, I'm going to map through that task. So let's do task.map. Let's grab for individual task. In here, I just want to return h1, for example. And then let's do title, task.title. And now we should see the title on the browser. Nice. And then basically, I'm going to create another component to basically render the individual task. So let's go to components. And then in here, I'm going to create a file called task-card like that .tsx, and let's do rfc. Let's change that to task card like that. Let's destructuring the tags on these props, and then on the top right here, I'm going to create the interface. So let's do interface task card props, and in here we have task. All right, and for the type of these tasks, basically I'm gonna create another file inside the source. Let's do types folder, and inside the types we have index.ts. So basically I'm going to export an interface called, let's do task like that. And then we have underscore ID, is basically string. We also have title. Title also basically a string. We also have description. This is also a string. And we also have completed. This will be a boolean. Great. So now we can use this interface on this task card. So let's paste that right here, and here we go. Nice. So now let's put this interface task card props on this function component. Let's paste that right here. Nice. So now if I do task dot, as you can see, we have this autocomplete right here. I'm going to basically paste the styling right here because I don't want to waste your time just to typing a lot of this styling here. So now let's try to save, and let's take a look here. As you can see, first we have div, we have background and etc. And then when the task completed is true, we're going to add the border left 4 and border green 500. And also inside that we have this div right here. It's basically will render the title and also the description and also the button. This button here will be changed wherever the task completed or true or false. So you can see here, if there's true, we're going to render this circle task, circle check. If the completed false, we're going to render the circle X. So this basically come from the Lucid React. We're going to install that later. And also down here we have button called edit and also button called delete. So let's try to save and let's take a look on the browser what we have. So we don't get anything here. That is because we don't yet import this TaskGrid on this app. So now let's put that right here, just like that. And then let's try to send the task is equal to task, just like that. And then now, as you can see, we have two tasks basically. We need to wrap this task here with another div that will basically styling the task with grid. So let's do class name in this div, and then I'm gonna add the display to grid, and then the grid columns into by default I'm gonna set that to 1, and then for the medium size and more, the grid column I'm gonna set that to basically 2 column, and for the large and more I'm going to set the grid column into, let's say, 3, and also for the gap between the item, let's do 6. As you can see, for the large we have basically 3 column. If I go for the medium, we have 2. If I go to small, as you can see, we have 1 column. So now let's try to install Lucid React so we can use the icon. Let's do npm install Lucid React. So as you can see here on this button, basically when the task is completed, we basically change the background to green 100. If the completed is false, we change the background to gray, right? So let's do npm run dev, and we are going to import this circle check and also the circle X. Let's save and let's take a look. All right, as you can see, we have this circle X and the background is basically gray. So now let's try to change this, for example, task into completed true, for example. Let's try to save and see what we have. All right, great. It's look really, really nice. So now let's create the modal, because as you can see now, when I click add task or edit, there's no modal come up. So now let's try to create the task modal. Inside the components folder, let's create a file called a task modal.tsx. And here I'm going to do RFC. Let's change the name to task modal. And then here, let's just put heading 1. Let's say modal, and then we are going to import that component inside the app. So let's do in here, and then let's import it. This task modal right here, it should be have props called is open. So let's first create the interface called task modal props, like that. It should be have is open, and the type is gonna be boolean, like that. And then we can grab that value, so we can say is open, like that. And then let's put that interface right here, task modal props. Before the return, we need to check if the is open is false. So basically we need to just return nothing. In this case, I'm gonna say return null. So let's go back in here. As you can see, it's basically require the is open. So let's send is open, and then by default, if I say true, for example, as you can see, it's showing, right? If I set that to false, of course, now it's gone. So let's back that to the true, and then we are gonna styling this model a little bit. So first, basically, I'm going to put this div right here on the center. So as you can see here, we basically set the fix. It's basically the background is gonna be opacity 50, and also I'm gonna put the all element inside this div is basically on the center of the element. As you can see here, we have the modal is basically on the center. Let's also wrap the modal content inside the background white. So here I'm gonna paste the styling. It's basically background white with rounded and then maximal width to medium. So let's see what we have. If I save, and as you can see, we have the background white and we have the rounded right here. Look really cool. So for the heading 1 right here, I just want to remove that, and I'm going to change that with heading 2. And for the text of this heading 2, I'm going to set that to add new task. So let's save, and as you can see, we have the title. Great. So next, let's create the form. So here I'm going to say form, and then let's remove the action, and inside the form we have basically another div. So in this case, I'm going to say hello, like that. Let's paste that a couple times. If I save, and as you can see, we have all this hello without any space, right? So now on the form here, I'm going to set class name to space y4. Here we go. I just want to copy and paste the input field right here inside the form. So let's paste that right here. And then I just want to comment the value on the on change. Let's do that. So basically right here, we have a two div, right? Inside the form, we have a div right here. This is basically for the title. As you can see, we have a label and then we have the input field. And also the second div is basically description. As you can see here, the label description and a text area right here. So now let's try to save. And as you can see, now we have this title and also the description. We also need to add the button for the close and also for the submit. So under in here, I'm going to paste the button. So as you can see, we set the flex justify to end to basically push this button right here on the right side because we set to justify end. And for the function here, I just want to do empty function. And then for this condition, I just wanted to add for now. Next, we are going to back to this condition again. Now let's take a look. We have title, description, and also this button. Now, of course, the cancel is not work, the add is not works. All right, so let's make it this close button works. So let's go back to the app. Basically, I'm going to create state call is modal open, and by default, it's going to be false, right? And let's create a function right here. Function name, I'm going to set that to handle close modal, set equals to arrow function. And in here, I just want to run the set is modal open into false because we closed the modal. All right, so now let's send this handle close modal into this task modal. Let's send that like that. Or maybe we can add on close in here to make it short. And then let's go to task modal. It's basically we need to add another interface called on close, and this is basically a function that returning void. And then we can grab the on close in this props, and then we can run it on this button right here. So let's paste that like so. So basically when we click the cancel button, it will run the on close function. This is going to be triggered this handle close modal, and set is open modal is open is going to be false. But of course this task modal is open, it's going to be follow this is modal open. So let's paste that right here, and now it should be good to go. And then of course the add task is not work for now. Let's go to the top right here, and then on the header, basically we need to create another function to open the modal. So let's do handle open modal set equals to arrow function. And in here, we're going to say set is open modal into true, just like that. And then now let's run this function when on add task click it. So let's run it in here, just like that, or just putting like so. Here we go. So now let's try to click add a task. As you can see, it opened the modal. When I click cancel, it closed the modal. Now we need to handle all the value that we send on this input field right here. Let's go back to the app, and we are going to create another state called form data. And also we are going to create interface called form data. So let's do that in here, interface called form data. And then this is should be have a title, should be string, and also description also should be string. We're going to send the form data and also the set form data on this task model. So let's do form data set equals to form data, and set form data, it should be set form data. All right. So as you can see, we have this warning here. That's because task model don't allow us to get these props. So let's add that right here. So let's do form data like that. And this form data, it should be have type, basically title and also description. It's going to be same like this interface. So I think it's better to put that interface on the type right here. So of course we can export and use that on this state right here. Let's grab that. And also we can use that right here. So let's grab that from here. And also we need to get the set form data like that. This is basically a state function, right? And now I want to set that to return a void. And for this data that we need to send in this function state is basically data. This data, it should be have type form data. like that. So now let's scroll down, and then we are going to set the value into form data.title, but we don't yet grab that from here. So we can say form data and also set form data like that. All right, we grab that and then we use it right here. Value is going to become from the form data.title, and then the on change right here, we set the form data, we grab the previous value, and then for the title, we're going to set that to e.target.value. And also for this text area, it is also same. So we need to grab the form data.description, and the on chain is basically will update the description into e.target.value. So now if I go back in here on the app and I just try to console log the form data, and as you can see, we get the data on the console. Great. And this is also great. All right, we get the data. Nice. So next we need to handle when we submit the data. So first I'm going to remove the console log here. I'm going to create variable called handle submit. It's going to be set equals to arrow function. And I'm going to basically grab the event. And then this event is basically React dot, it should be form event like that. And then here I'm going to say e dot prevent default. It's basically to prevent the reload browser. Right, so I just want to console log the form data like here, and then now let's run that handle submit on the task modal. On submit, set equals to this handle submit function. So now let's go to task modal, and then we are gonna add another props called on submit. This is basically should be a function that return void. And this on submit is basically like an event in here, and it's gonna be same, which is react.form event. But as you can see, we get this cannot find on submitters because we don't get the on submit on these props. So now here we go. So it's basically when we submit that form, it will running this on submit. This on submit will run this function right here, handle submit, and this is will run. After the console log run, I want to basically set the form data back to empty string for title and also for the description. And also after I submit that, I also want to set the is modal open into false. Basically, we'll close the modal. So let's try. I'm gonna go back in here. Let's add task. For example, task 1, and then this is task. If I hit add, as you can see, it's closed the modal, and also we have the value on the console. If I click that again, as you can see, it's empty. So now see how we can integrate this convex with our React application. So let's go to documentation, click this React, and then as you can see, we have already created this React app. And then next we need to install the convex. So we can do npm install convex. After the installation done, we need to run this npx convex dev. If this is the first time you run npx convex dev on your computer, maybe you need to log in with GitHub on the convex dashboard. All right, after you log in, you need to create a new project in here. Just hit create new project. And for the project name, I'm going to say task manager, or you can give any name you want. So this is basically will create that project. And as you can see now, this is generated the convex folder, and as you can see right here, we have the environment.local file, right? So this is basically generated by default with npx config dev. So we don't need to worry about this. And then as you can see, we can go to the dashboard right here. Just click that, open on the browser. As you can see, there's no data yet right here. And if you go back to documentation, you can basically create the sample data like that, and then you can do npx convex import. This is basically will import this JSON data right here into the table task, right? But for now, I just want to create the schema first. So let's go to convex, and then we are going to create a file called schema.ts file. So in here, basically, I just want to copy and paste this example. Let's just copy this one and then paste that right here. As you can see, if I save that, this is going to be automatically create the task table. As you can see here, we have task table. Great. So here, instead of text is incompleted, we need to change that. But for the table name, I like to use task, is fine. So first thing first, I'm gonna change that to title, and then this is gonna be completed, right? And also I have description. And the next thing is we are gonna create the task file, because this is just a task manager. Of course, we can use task.ts. Basically, the name doesn't really matter. You can use any name you want. But for the schema, the name should be schema, right? For the task, I'm gonna copy the name. Let's create the file on the convex right here. Let's do that. As you can see, every time I change something inside the convex folder, this command right here, it's going to be watching every changing inside the convex folder. It's super great. So inside the tags right here, I'm going to copy everything inside in the documentation and paste that right here. So basically, we export variable called get. This function is whatever you want. The name is whatever you want. You can do get tags like this because we need to get all the tags in this function. The argument is basically what you need to send on the database. For example, you need to send a title and description. You can do that in here. Right, for now we need to just get all the data. We don't need to add any arguments. Alright, so basically this is running ctx, is basically an object, so we can access the db.query, we get the table task, and we collect all the data. Let's go to main.tsx. In order to use the convex in our application, we need to wrap our app right here with, let's see right here, convex provider. So let's wrap that app with convex provider. So as you can see in here, it's basically we're wrapping this app with convex provider come from the convex/React, and then here the client is going to be convex. As you can see, it's initialized the convex React client, and then we import the Vite convex URL come from the environment variable. All right, after we doing this, now we can get the data with use query. So let me copy this command right here and then go to app.tsx, and then instead of doing dummy data like so, I think now we can get the data from the database. So let's remove that, and then in here I can do task set equals to use query. Use query is going to become from the convex/React, and also for the API it's going to become from here. I'm going to copy that and paste that right here. It's going to become from convex generated/API. But as you can see, we get this TypeScript error. It's a property get does not exist because we create function called get task. So let's grab that right here, and then of course now there's no error. But when I scroll down, as you can see, we also get this error here. Task is possibly undefined. So we need to create the default value for this task, which is I'm going to put empty array. Now let's try to create manual data on this dashboard. So let's go to tags right here and add document. So for the description, I'm going to say this is description, and for the title, I'm going to do this is the task. Let's create save right here, click save, and as you can see, we have one document. If I go back to the browser and then let's try to console log the task, now we should have one data on the console. As you can see right here, we have the description. This is a description, and then we have the title. When I scroll up, as you can see, we get this error here. That's just because we don't put ID on the map right here. So when we map something, we need to add a key. Key is going to be the tags._id. So now the error should be gone. So now let's do integration for the add tags right here. And then first thing first, we need to create the function right here. So I'm going to copy that and paste that right here like that. And for the name of the function, I'm going to do add task. Because we need to update something on the database, we need to use mutation instead of query. So we can say mutation. As you can see, it's going to become from the same place. And then the argument that we are going to send is basically a title. The title is going to be string, and also we have a description. It also should be string. But as you can see, we get this error here. That's because v is going to become from the convex values. Here we go. So now let's try to basically assign this argument into the context. And then here we can grab the second property in this handler, which is argument. We can do that like that. And then here, instead of just collect everything, we are going to say ctx.db.insert. We insert the data into the tags table, and the data that we are going to send is basically title. The title is going to be come from the argument.title, and also we're going to send the description. Description is also going to be come from argument.description. And also, as you can see here, we still get an error. That's because we need to also send a completed, right? So let's do completed, and by default, completed it's false. To use that function is basically really simple. On the top right here, I'm going to create another variable called add_task. And then instead of use query, because as you can see here, we're using mutation. That's why in here we need to use mutation hooks. And then what we are going to get from here is basically add task like that. And by default, just remove this empty array and we good to go. Inside this handle submit, we need to just run that add task, and we need to send the title and also the description. So we can do add task, and then we need to send the title. Title is going to become from data.title. And then also we need to send the description. It also come from data.description. Because this is an asynchronous function, we need to change this handle submit into async await function. So we can do async, and we need to await until this add task done. And then we are going to just basically close the modal and remove the value on the form data. So let's go back and then let's try to add new task. I'm going to do task 1. Okay, this is task 1. Hit add. And then as you can see, it's automatically right here. And then also on the dashboard, we see this new task right here. After I submit the form, I just need to reset the form data value when we close the modal, like so. And then right here, we need to just run the handle close modal. This is do the same thing, but it's more better, I think. When I click the edit right here, nothing happened. It's not open the modal like we click the add task right here. So let's go back to the app.tsx, and then here I'm going to send on edit set equals to handle open modal. And then we are going to go to add task and send this on edit as a props. So here inside the interface, I'm going to send the on edit, and this on edit is like a basically function that returning void. And also this function, it should be send the task. Task, it should be have type task. And we are going to run that when we click the edit. First, let's grab that on the props, and then we are going to run that down here when we click this edit button. So let's run that like so, and then we are going to send the task like that. Alright, so let's try to go back and click edit. Nice, it's opened the modal. And right here on the text modal, we need to send the text that we clicked. So the way we do that is basically on the handle open modal here, I'm going to grab the task, right? Because remember, we send the task when we click on edit right here. Let me showing you right here. As you can see, we send this task, and then of course we can grab that task right here on the handle open modal. So the task is basically have a type task, and this is should be optional because when we run that on the add task right here, it's not going to be send that task. Alright, so now let's console log the task so we can see the value. Let's try. I'm going to click add task. It should be not send anything, but now we get the event. Let's try to click edit. When we click edit, we get the task value, which is what we want. And then let's fix this way right here. We don't need to send event when we click the handle open modal on this header. So basically we need to do a arrow function like this, so it will fix that problem. Let's try. I'm going to click add task, and as you can see, this is just undefined. If I click edit, we get a value. That's what we want. So now let's create another state to handle that value. I'm going to create another state called selected task. So here's that basically I'm going to update that right here. So let's remove this, and then I'm going to make a condition in here. If the task is have a value, which is we on the edit, we are going to set the set selected task into this task value, and we are going to set the form data into the title here into the description. This is will be fill the input field on this edit right here, right? And otherwise just do this null and also empty string. Let's try to save, and then now if I click edit, as you can see, we get this value. That's because, as you can see here on the form, on the text model, we basically send the form data, and then as you can see here, we update the set form data, right? If you see on the text model, and the value here is going to become from the form data.title and form data.description. That's why this value is updated right here. Nice. So next, let's update the text right here. Let's go to text model, and then here I'm going to send basically the, let me send the task set equals to selected task, like that. And then let's go back to text model. We need to grab the task. It's going to be optional, and then the type should be come from the types folder. And then also sometimes the task should be null when we open that from the add task, right? So here on the heading 2, I just want to make it really simple condition. If the task is have a value, just return edit task. Otherwise, just return add new task. We get this error here. That's because we don't get the value on these props. Here we go. We also need to update that on this button right here. If we open the modal from the edit, we need to change the text into update. If otherwise, just to add. Alright, as you can see, we have edit and we have update. When I go to add task, as you can see, we have add new task and also add. Great, the UI is done. So now let's working with the integration. First, let's create the function on the task right here. And then as you can see, let's just copy this add task because it's really similar. And then of course, we're using mutation. Let's first change the variable name to update task, like that. And we're using mutation because we changed something on the database. And also here we need to specify send the ID because we need that to basically update specific ID on the table. So here we can say v.id, and then we are going to get the ID from the task, like that. And also down here, as you can see, we're running ctx.db.insert. Instead of insert, I'm going to use patch right here, like that. And then we are going to send the ID right here. So let's do argument.id. This completed, basically we don't need to send that. So we just need to send the title and also the description. Great. So let's go back to the app.tsx, and then we are gonna run the use mutation right here for the update. So let's do update task, use mutation api.task.update task. So now we need to run the update task inside the handle submit. So as you can see here, when we on the edit, select the task have a value when we open the modal edit, right? So when we on the edit, we run the update task. When we on the add, we run the add task. Nice. So we get this error here that say type string is not assignable to ID task. This is because our selected task, let me open the task right here. The ID is string. So we need to change that ID into this ID come from the generated data model. And we use this ID tags right here, and now we're good to go. Nice. So let's try to see what we have right now. I'm going to edit this tags right here. Let's say task 2, and then for the description, this is task 2. Let's click update, and then as you can see, this is updated, but it's not close the model. That's the another bug that we found. So let's see, after we run handle submit, we need to basically, yeah, we just forget to run handle close modal right here. All right, so let's try. I'm going to edit the task 1. Let's add updated right here, hit update, and then it's close the modal and also update the task right here. Nice. If I add task, let's do task 3. This is task 3. Let's hit add, and hopefully, yep, this is task 3 right here. Cool. The add and the update, it's work. Now let's working with the delete. As you can see, when I click delete, nothing really happened, right? So here, I'm going to create another props here called on delete. And then basically here, I'm going to, when I click on delete, I'm going to run function called handle delete like that. For now, let's create the function on the top right here. And then this is going to be take ID. And I just want to console log the ID for now, like that. So let's go to TaskGrid and we are going to add this on delete on the interface. And this is basically an arrow function. And then of course we need to also send the ID. The ID should be a string. And then let's try to grab the on delete right here. And we need to run that when we click the delete button right here. And basically we need to send the task._id. Let's try to click delete. And as you can see, we get the ID. So next, basically, I'm going to create really simple delete alerts. Basically, when I click this delete, it's going to be pop-up alert modal like that. So let's do on the component here. I'm going to create one file called, let's do delete-alert. I just want to paste this really simple component. And as you can see, we just have is open, on close, and on confirm. Is open is basically if this is true, we are going to showing this alert, and otherwise just return null. On close is basically we need when we want to close the alert, and then on confirm is basically when we want to confirm that alert, which is we want to delete the task basically. Let's import the delete alert on the bottom right here. And then of course we need to basically create another state to basically make a condition for the delete alert open and close. So here I'm going to create show delete alert state, and by default, of course, this should be a false. So let's paste this value on this delete alert. It's going to be is open set equals to this show delete alert. And then now, as you can see, if I setting that to true by default, it should be open the modal. The modal is going to be look like this, really simple. And then let's try to make it false again. Here we go. And then I'm going to showing this alert when we click the delete. So here I'm going to say, let's do set delete alert into true like that. So when we click that, as you can see, it's open that. But of course, the cancel is not works because we don't handle the close right here. So the on close is basically we'll set the show delete alert into false. So let's go back here, and when I click cancel, as you can see, it's close that alert. We need to also send the on confirm, and then this one is going to be run the confirm delete function. So let's create the function const confirm delete set equals to arrow function. First, we need to store this ID into the state, and we can use that on this confirm delete function. So let's scroll on the top, and I'm going to create another state called task to delete. So this is basically have ID. ID is going to become from the data model. And then I'm going to set the task to delete here when we click the button delete. So right here. So I'm going to run that, set task to delete into this ID, right? And then down here, we can try to console log the task to delete like that. So let's try. If I click the delete, nothing happened. If I click cancel, it just closed the modal. But if I click delete, as you can see, it's showing the ID. Let's set the ID into string. But as you can see, we get this error. String is not assignable to parameter. Let me show you right here. Oh yeah, the type it should be ID tags, not a string basically. So let's grab that right here. ID should be have this type. And then of course we get this error here. That is because right here we set the on delete to ID string. So we need to use the ID tags right here as well. The UI is done. So next we are going to create the function here. So let's just copy and paste this update task right here. And I'm going to change the name into remove task like that. And of course, we are going to use mutation because we update something on the database. And again, for the argument, we just need to send ID. And also down here for the handler, we are going to basically run db.delete. And then we need to just send the ID. We don't need this object right here. Just like that. And now we can use this function. To use that remove tags is basically really simple. I'm going to copy and paste this update tags and change that to delete tags like that. And then here I'm going to use remove tags like that. So I'm going to run this delete tags on the confirm delete right here, right? So first I'm going to check if we have the tags to delete, and then we need to run the delete tags right here. We can send the ID into tags to delete. And then because this is make a delete request on the database, of course, we need to await that. We need to change this function into async, and this delete tags is we need to await that, just like that. After we delete the tags, we need to just make sure the set show delete alert into false is basically will close the delete alert. And down here, I'm going to set the tags to delete back to null. Let's try to delete this tags one updated. Click delete, and if I click cancel, nothing happened. If I click delete, and as you can see, it's just gone. Great, the delete is work. So let's first back to the app.tsx, and here on the tags card, as you can see, on this button on click right here, this is the button that we see this icon right here basically. So we need to run function on here. So let's first create a function or props in here. I'm going to say on toggle complete. Set equals to, I'm going to create a function called handle toggle complete like that. So let's create the function on the top right here, const handle toggle complete. And of course, this should be async function like that. And this is basically like a task like that. And the type is going to be task. And then for now, I just want to console log that task. Great. So as you can see, we get this error because on the task card, we don't basically add the on toggle complete on this interface. So let's do, this is going to be a function that take a task. Task is basically have a type task, and also it just return void. So now let's try to run that on the button down here. So of course we need to send the task inside this on toggle completed. Okay, so when we click this, it's run the on toggle complete, and then of course this handle toggle complete it's run, and we just console log the task. So let's click this. Here we go. As you can see, we get the task on the console. Let's create the toggle complete function on the convex task right here, and then I just want to copy and paste this remove, and then here let's change the name into toggle complete, and of course we're using mutation, and then for the argument that we are going to send is basically id and also completed, and this completed is basically a boolean. So let's remove this id right here and change that to boolean like that. And also down here for the handler, basically we are going to use fetch, and then we are going to send the id, and also let's send an object, and we are going to send the completed. It's going to become from the argument dot completed, just like that. So this is the function that we can use. Let's copy the name. Let's go back to app.tsx, and yep, we are going to use that right here. Let's do toggle complete, and also for the function that we are going to use is toggle complete. And now we can use this toggle complete on this handle toggle complete right here. Let's run the await toggle complete, and as you can see, we send the id and also we send the completed. This is basically the opposite of the completed value. If the completed is true, it's going to be send false. If false, we are going to send true. So let's try to see on the browser. If I click this icon right here, and as you can see, it's done. If I click this one, and it's also done. If I click that again, all right, great. So of course, now everything it should be works. If I do, let's say title exercise, and for the description, I'm going to paste this description and hit add. And as you can see, we get the value right here. I can delete this one. I can basically edit, for example, let's say clean the workspace. Here we go. And then I just want to copy this, my description, and hit update. And as you can see, it's right here. If I click this complete it, and here we go. Alright, so we're done with this simple project, and hopefully you can implement the create, read, update, and delete with React. Use this beautiful convex. Thank you so much for watching, and see you guys on the next one.